Hello, Year 7. It's Mrs. Nath here. I hope you're all okay and that you're enjoying a bit of the nice weather that we've had over the last few days. So, we've been working our way through the ecology topic, and you've looked so far at changes during the day, adaptations of different organisms, you've looked at food chains and food webs. And I must say that the work that I've been receiving from my groups has been absolutely brilliant. So well done. You're all doing really, really fantastically. So what we're going to do today is I'm just going to take you through a little bit about how we can actually get out in the environment and be proper biologists and investigate the animals and the different conditions around us. And then we're going to try and get you outside into your garden or your local park to see if you can investigate some of the different organisms that are there. So we've got a pond here, look, and what we would think about when we were looking at this pond is we've got all these different species that we can see of plants and animals, but how could we actually measure them? How could we actually find out what was there? And we'd want to measure the different organisms in the pond, and we'd want to measure the different environmental factors. Then once we've done that, we could think about how could we compare that throughout the year in the different seasons that you've already learned about. So what we do as biologists and ecologists, which is somebody who studies the environment, is we use a technique called sampling. So that means we go out into the environment and we take a small number of organisms that are there, and that will help us work out the total population. So that could be the number of woodlouse in a log, or it could be the number of daisies in a field. And we're going to look at different ways over the next 2 weeks that we can do that, the next 2 lessons. So there's some different pieces of equipment we could use. The first piece of equipment that we could use is called a pooter. And some of you may have seen these before. Some of you might even have them yourselves. You can often get them in sets in gift shops like at Beale Park, or different like Wellington Country Park often have them. So you can use these to collect small invertebrates, an invertebrate being a small insect, a small organism without a backbone, and like spiders and crabs and different organisms. So we could collect these off of the plants in the ground. And what we would do is it's got 2 tubes coming into it. So as it says here, we place 1 tube over the invertebrate and the other in your mouth. And then you suck on the tube and pull the organism into the container. And obviously you need to make sure that's the tube with the covered end, because you don't want any of the insects to end up in your mouth. Okay, we could put a pitfall trap. So you can do this in your garden. You can just take a cup and you would bury it in the soil so that the opening to the cup is flat with the soil. And then you would place it, and you could put it in the grass, under the hedge, in a flower bed, anywhere you want really, to see what kind of insects and different organisms you could trap. And you can bait it, and you could put a little bit of beer is often used to attract slugs and snails, and gardeners often use that in their gardens, or sugar solution, or fruit. Okay, so here there's a man and he's doing what we call tree beating. So what you do is you use a stick and hold, and you literally hit a tree or a bush and hold a net underneath. And then you see what you could collect, and any dislodged animals would fall onto the sheet. And they often do this in the rainforest, actually, when ecologists are there to capture different organisms from the canopy in the rainforest. So leaf litter then, so we get this a lot after the autumn, and you could still go in the woods now, and if you've had a walk in the woods you'll still see that there's a lot of leaf litter, and these are different leaves that fall into the ground, and then they start to decompose, and you can sift through leaf litter and find different insects, or use a pooter to look through it. Okay, so sweep nets. So we can use these sweep nets to catch flying things, or we can use this to sample from the pond. And what some of you might have been pond dipping, you can do this at places like Dinton pastures, or even down at the beach. I know that we often go rock pooling and put our sweep nets into rock pools to see what we can find. Now, a quadrat then is something that you can use to sample things that don't move and count daisies. And it's literally a square piece of plastic or metal that we put down on the ground and count the number of organisms found in it. And then we repeat this lots of times to make an estimate of population. For example, daisies in a field. And we're going to get you to do this next week. Right, so I'm going to just quickly go through with you then what we're going to get you to do at home. So we're going to give you a copy of this worksheet. And what we want you to look at is what sort of places are woodlice likely to be found in. Okay, and you don't have to just do woodlice. If you want to pick another insect, or you just want to pick a variety of insects. But what I want you to try and do is get out into your gardens or out into a park and see what areas you find the most insects in. Now, it says here you need a pooter. Well, you don't really. What you could do is just take out a cup or a jar. You might have a paintbrush. You could take out a little net if you've got a net at home, anything really, but just your hands and a small cup or jar would be absolutely fine. So what we're going to get you to do is choose 2 different areas to look for woodlice in. So you could choose 2 different piles of leaves, one dry and one wet. You could go into a wood and pick just the soil and then maybe a tree trunk, wherever you would like really. But I want you to try and find 2 different areas which have 2 different types of conditions in, 2 different habitats. And then what you're going to do is just going to look for insects in that area. So go to that area, investigate, record what different insects you can find, or just do woodlouse. And then like you can see here, it says recording your results. So what we want you to write down is what 2 areas did you choose? What are the differences in the physical factors between the 2 areas? Is one damp? Is one dry? Is one in the direct sunlight? Is one more shady? Is one warmer? Is one colder? And I want you to describe the 2 different areas. And then I want you to make a little table to show the 2 areas and what you found. So that could be that you found a different number of woodlouse in each one. It could just be however many insects you found each one. If you're interested and you have a book that could help you, or you look up on your phone, you can maybe identify the different insects in these 2 areas. And then we want you to think about, how did you make sure it was a fair test? Did you count for the same amount of time? Did you use the same area? And maybe you could draw a bar chart of your results with the number of different insects, or just the total number of insects in each area, or the total number of woodlouse. And then what I'd like you to do is describe your results. And I'd like you to think about what different conditions do the woodlice or the insects like to live in. So which area did you find the most woodlice, or what area did you find the most insects? And then if you've made a prediction, you could say, do your results agree with that prediction? And why do you think they like to live in those conditions? You could extend your work and tell me all about why they live in those conditions and why they like that habitat. And then the real stretch here, the real challenge here is, if you were going to do this again, or perhaps do this in school with different equipment, what improvements could you make to this investigation? So once you've been out in your gardens and you've had a go at doing this, or at your local park, or in your local woods on a walk, we'd like you to write all of these things down for us, and then please do send them to your teachers so they can see all the amazing work that you're doing, and we can put you on some achievement points and get some postcards home to you. Okay, Year 7, I hope you enjoy this week's task. You take care. Bye.